And now it's my pleasure to ask Jay Gupta, the WSC class president, to join us and address the class. Jay, come on up.
Good evening, faculty, students, and families. My name is Jay Gupta, and I was the president of the class of 2020. Had I been speaking to you in 2020, I would have delivered a very different message. No one could have imagined that our senior year of high school and freshman year of college would end up like this. You probably don't need me to tell you that. And given the year that's passed since when we would have held a ceremony to celebrate our accomplishments, I just couldn't find a way to deliver a so-called traditional graduation message. The truth is, we've all already moved on to new journeys in our lives, many of which are distinct from what we shared together here at Webb. So rather than focusing on the past, or what might have been, I'd like to look towards the future and consider what the last year has really been an education in. So, we've all heard that adage about what we should do when life gives us lemons. I mean, you gotta hope that life also gives you water and sugar, because that would be some pretty bad lemonade. But more often, wow, tough crowd, but more often than not, life doesn't give you something workable and useful. Like, what do you do if you end up in a car accident that leaves you unable to write, type, or text? I mean, these are things that happen to people that don't have easy, marketable solutions. If anything, the last year and a half has proven that there is a need for us all to rethink how we deal with what life tosses our way. I think most of us were 6 or 7 years old when the financial crisis set in. So most of us don't have direct memories of what it was like for a lot of Americans. Some of them very highly qualified in their fields, some of them the products of very good schools, some of them among the professions we're all considering for our own futures, to find themselves without work and without opportunity. Imagine going from the top to the bottom in a heartbeat and not being able to find anything comparable afterwards. Going from an accomplished lawyer or financier to potentially losing your house, your car, your family, or your life, frankly, that was a reality 10 years ago for a lot of people, and it was a reality over the last year and a half as well. And that means over the course of our lives, we're not going to have to weather just 1 or 2 of these COVID-like moments. They're going to be 4 or 5, and only a few lucky ones among us are going to make it through each crisis without having to make any changes. So here's the deal. We need to learn some resilience. No, that's not about being smarter or more connected or more adaptable. Resilience is about realizing that those of us who have the best chances of succeeding are those who can reinvent themselves. It's the understanding that just finishing up a class or 2, or even a triple major, doesn't qualify us for anything on its own. We need to keep going, learning, and developing. But we also need to be able to take an unexpected hit and not fall over, not give up, and not give in. Lemons don't turn themselves into lemonade without some effort and coordination. Now here's what I think is the secret to being better. We're all bad at some things and good at others. The education system tells us that we need to fix what we're bad at. We're told to endure the hard work, the studies, the so-called improvement that's supposed to round us out and prepare us for the future. But last I checked, most of what I learned in middle school is not applicable to what I learned at Webb. And from what I experienced in the last year, most of what I learned at Webb is not applicable to what I learned in college. So it's not about the content, it's about the skills. But skills only matter if they can be applied. Let's be honest, is everything we're learning going to have an application? Absolutely not. But everything we're forced to engage with and learn about is an opportunity to learn something useful. We can hone our patience, our tolerance, our thinking, our speaking, and our writing abilities. Too often, we fall into the trap of just wanting an A and for a class to be over. We take the easy way out. We don't put in the full effort, and as a result, we're not gaining what there is to learn from these moments of endurance. Frankly, we're turning ourselves into a bunch of complainers. And I'm afraid about what happens to our society when there are more complainers than there are fixers. Everybody is constantly looking for an opportunity to be victimized, rather than taking personal responsibility and making the best out of their situations. We need grit, we need resilience if we're going to make it through more of what is inevitable. I think each of us needs to start looking at our own lives the way a jeweler looks at rough stone. There's going to be imperfections in the rock that we don't want to accentuate. There's going to be an angle or a handful of angles that we do. So before we start chipping away, how about we focus on the parts that lead to unique beauty, that make us stand out compared to all the rest? In this case, that means focusing on what we do well, naturally, and putting more effort into that skill set than anything else. It's kind of like what Adam Smith said about specialization. Like, if I'm really good at making rugs, I shouldn't waste my time trying to be a bodybuilder. Like, that's ever gonna happen. I should learn to be the best rug maker I possibly can. Someone else will be a better bodybuilder. So the most efficient use of my time would be to develop my innate abilities. So as we stare into our second year of college and we think about the further schooling and careers that come after that, we're all in for a lot of hard work and maybe no sense of reward or satisfaction, especially not right away. Let's adopt a perspective where everything has some potential value and meaning. Let's adopt a vantage point where we look at everything as an opportunity and we embrace our innate potential. We look for how we can maximize on what we do well rather than focusing on what we don't. We specialize in being ourselves and look for the opportunities to be ourselves in the most meaningful ways. And when the downturns come, and when we lose some of the things we've built and accumulated, we don't look at the lemons and declare them sour. No, we look at them and we find the vantage point that lets us lift ourselves back up, that lets us keep going and applying what we are and what we are good at. Thank you, have a great day, and congratulations to the class of 2020.